We are going to go ahead and start our morning session. I have been asked to introduce our distinguished speakers for this morning. The theme this morning is cybersecurity, and I'm sure we all agree that this is a very important topic, a very important area. Two distinguished gentlemen that will be presenting this morning's session, first of all, would be Dr. Robert Cherinka. Dr. Robert Cherinka is a senior principal computer scientist for the MITRE Corporation located in Tampa, Florida. His expertise is in software and process engineering with a focus towards agile development technologies. Robert is currently a department head for agile engineering and innovation, leading a distributed team of IT professionals developing and applying emerging technologies across several U.S. government domains. Robert earned a PhD and MS in computer science from Old Dominion University, Virginia, leading research in static analysis and testing techniques for component-based systems. In addition, he earned a BS in computer science from the University of Pittsburgh. After 6 years in the U.S. Air Force, he joined MITRE in 1993. Along with Robert, we have Joseph Prezzama. He's currently the Associate Department Head for the MITRE Corporation, Tampa Operations Office. In 1996, he earned a Master's of Science in Software Engineering from Monmouth University, New Jersey. Prior to that, he earned a Bachelor of Science in Electrical Engineering from Trenton State College, New Jersey. Our distinguished speakers will speak on the topic, which is our keynote address for this morning, Building a Cyber Professional Workforce, the Key Enablers. Let's welcome our speakers.
Good morning, and welcome to WMSCI 2016, and today's special session, the International Symposium on Cybersecurity. Today's presentations, along with those from the March conference, are part of a series being considered as a future journal on cybersecurity. Our theme today is, Are You Prepared? With this theme in mind, we're pleased to have several distinguished guest speakers throughout the day representing a cross-section of government, industry, and academic cybersecurity perspectives. So to help prepare us for the cybersecurity discussions today, we have a brief video to help set the stage and emphasize the need to be prepared for ongoing and emerging cybersecurity threats.
These guys are good.
Let's get to work.
A hot little startup with a great idea. Their target, a ProPass. Offices in 12 countries, 5,000 staff. You'd think they'd be secure, wouldn't you?
Make some noise. Pulse.
A smokescreen. A decoy breach to hide what they're really after. Confidential information hidden in the depths of the system.
Still here?
The computer's crashed.
Join the club. See you Monday.
It's okay, son.
Right now, the chances are someone, somewhere, is attacking you. And you don't even know it.
Okay, chaps. We're in.
I bet you're wondering how they got this far.
Give us a smile. Lovely. She's in.
sensitive passwords and system details from a keystroke logger hidden under a desk for 6 months.
You got it?
Easy.
These guys, they know it all. Except, a few weeks earlier, a Probas were hit by a smaller breach. It made the board stop and think how vulnerable they were. So they brought in the experts. It's never just an IT issue. They carried out cybersecurity training from boardroom to basement, identifying what was critical to the business. Threat and intelligence monitoring. They planned a cyber incident response and brought in their own ethical hackers to test the systems and make honeypots to trap the attackers. They reviewed the whole business from New York to Tokyo and devised a game plan for any breach.
Make some noise. We're in.
It's a denial of service attack. We're just monitoring the situation.
Have they gone into any accounts?
Very clever. Someone else bangs on the windows, while you hide in the cellar.
They're on to us.
I'll try blocking them.
Is it working?
I don't know.
Well, I need to know, Gil. Is it working?
Lena, launch a worm.
These guys are good. They're really good.
They're blocking us.
Try again.
They're blocking us!
Try again!
Straight to me.
Gotcha.
Good, but not good enough.
You're okay. Traffic's blocked.
You can win, but there's always a next time.
Who's next?
Kobashi Tech.
Criminals just get smarter,
Who have we got for the smoke screen?
Take your pick.
and they're everywhere. A breach will happen, and when it does, will you be ready?
Well, I hope that video was instrumental in setting the stage for the next few talks. Good morning. My name is Joe Prezzama. During this presentation, Dr. Cherinka and I will be discussing a model for building cybersecurity talent, which we're currently using in our own organization. This is a deep dive into understanding the key components and enablers to a professional cyber workforce and the approach to establishing a specific talent pipeline based on the model we introduced in our plenary session last year. If you recall from last year's plenary, just as a recap, we formalized a talent pipeline model that entails a process that starts with recruitment and goes through multi-year training and various competitions to build tangible experiences. The model cycles the individual on a track towards becoming a strong cyber professional. In this session, we will focus on aspects of building a professional cybersecurity workforce. To that end, we will briefly discuss some of the current workforce challenges, especially related to cyber careers that organizations need to address. We will introduce an approach for building a professional career path and talent pipeline in cybersecurity. And finally, we will highlight our use of cyber capture the flag competitions as a corporate initiative aimed at adopting new approaches for hiring. As you probably already know, cyber threats have become a worldwide systemic problem, and one that we all need to be aware of, prepare for, and be part of the solution. With increasingly complex cyber attacks, an organization's entire IT and communications infrastructure could be compromised in a matter of minutes. To counter these threats, we believe there are several critical areas that organizations should pursue to evaluate their cyber defense strategy to the next level, and we'll be examining some of these throughout this presentation. To make matters worse, the demand for a cyber-skilled workforce is high, much higher than the current supply and talent pool. We're all facing serious workforce challenges, but in the area of cyber, this drought in talent could have very high implications. The following are just a few recent statistics to help define the problem set. There is a gap in the number of trained cybersecurity professionals today. According to assessments by ISC Squared, more than 300,000 trained cybersecurity professionals are needed today. The demand for cybersecurity talent appears to be outstripping the supply. In 2014, U.S. employers posted 50,000 jobs requesting CISP talent, recruiting from a pool of only 60,000. According to the Department of Labor statistics, overall computer occupations are expected to increase 22% between 2010 and 2020, higher than the average total of all other occupations. And on an average, cybersecurity salaries offer a premium of approximately $15,000 above other IT jobs. To illustrate this problem further, according to a recent survey conducted by Frost & Sullivan, a research and IT consulting firm, it was found that between 2013 and 2015, there was a 10% drop in the availability of qualified cyber professionals. This implies that we are not producing cyber professionals at the needed rate. Similarly, in the same time frame, it's become 5% harder to actually find the qualified cyber professionals out of the diminished labor pool. As a temporary workaround and in an effort to onboard more talent in a time of shortages, the U.S. government has indicated that relevant security experience is more important to them than industry certifications or related degrees. So think about this. What they're saying is if the government can't find certified or degreed professionals, they would be willing to hire based on relevant on-the-job experience alone. That says something about the pressing need for security experience in the workforce today. So those metrics highlight some of the existing workforce challenges. But the workforce framework is broad, and cybersecurity applies to all IT positions, while cyber roles are not distinct or defined yet. Many employers customize position descriptions to fill existing capability gaps. Some large employers follow a new and emerging industry standard for job requisitions, but many employers do not yet. The impact is disorganized job market that presents challenges to the cybersecurity workforce. Colleges have difficulty creating programs that are clearly aligned to jobs. Students don't have clear job prospects and career opportunities. And policymakers can't set standards to promote workforce professionalization. At the federal level, the U.S. government is taking action. An example of this is the National Initiative for Cybersecurity Education, or NICE, which was established to raise national cybersecurity awareness, broaden the pool of cyber workers through strong education programs, and build globally competitive cybersecurity workforces. NICE is focused on 3 goals: enhancing awareness. They do this by improving the nation's ability to be safer and more secure online. Expanding the pipeline. Increasing the quality and quantity of cybersecurity workforce by determining the merits of professionalization. And evolving the field. Developing and maintaining an unrivaled and globally competitive national cybersecurity workforce by establishing standards and strategies for cybersecurity training and professional development. In an attempt to help address these challenges, we're working with government, industry, and academic partners to foster collaborative initiatives designed to build a more professional cyber workforce. We will now examine the anatomy of a cybersecurity professional workforce in terms of culture, people, processes, and technology that represent the key enablers for building the talent, the framework, and the capabilities required. My colleague, Dr. Cherinka, will now walk you through these key enablers.
Thank you, Joe. Good morning. So as Joe said, we're going to take a deeper dive in looking at the anatomy of a professional cyber workforce. And we'll do that in terms of the culture, people, process, and technology associated with that. And so let's start by first examining culture. In this particular context, we define the core components of of a core cyber culture as one that permeates throughout the professional organization and entails commitment, strong commitment from the top. It starts with leadership. Executive support is necessary to establish a clear charter for information security and to help define that long-term strategic plan for the organization. It also needs to be an organizational priority. This means having a comprehensive and pervasive strategy in place. This information security must develop strong, clearly defined relationships with a wide variety of stakeholders across the business and establish clearly defined, formalized governance and operating models. There also needs to be an investment. Organizations need to be willing to invest in the resources needed to provide and to implement this strategy. There also needs to be a willingness to accept and manage risk, very important for cybersecurity. And then finally, culture is also about awareness and training. Everyone in the organization has a stake and needs to be held accountable. But this requires proper training, certification, and awareness. So let's look a little bit deeper with respect to what a cybersecurity strategy might look like. We believe there are 5 critical areas that organizations should pursue to elevate their cyber defense strategy to the next level. When you take all 5 of these areas together, they can actually help to enable an organization to up their game more effectively to manage the cyber threat. So the first area is situational awareness. Today's leaders need meaningful cyber situational awareness to help them to safeguard sensitive data, sustain their fundamental operations, as well as to protect their infrastructure. The second area is resiliency. Organizations need technology solutions that help to ensure critical systems will stay online and up and running during an attack. The third area is threat-based defense. This maximizes the knowledge that you can gain from looking at the attacks that are occurring, often looking at each one individually, but then combining that knowledge together so that you can reduce the likelihood of successful attacks in the future. The next important area, of course, is partnerships. Sharing cyber threat information broadly amongst organizations using a common terminology and automation can benefit everyone. And finally, innovation. Tool developers and threat analysts working closely together can use threat information to create new tools to boost their cyber defenses. While the above provides the foundation for a strategy for cyber defense, an effective overall strategy must also be dynamic, always seeking new and better ways for keeping information systems safe. The other area to really examine further is awareness and training. I mentioned this plays a key role in staying ahead of the cyber attackers. As we know, and as the video illustrated, those attackers are becoming increasingly sophisticated. So the key to success is to combine that training with hands-on experience to help create those aha moments for your professional staff. Examples like you see here with the MITRE Cyber Academy, which is a public resource, the training that IC² makes available and the certifications to professionals, as well as dedicated cyber learning paths that you can institute within your own organizations, all help staff continue to grow professionally. So the second enabler that we'll talk about is people. Businesses can often invest millions of dollars in top-of-the-line security software, but without proper employee training, that point is moot. Hackers have perfected already the art of social engineering, or the way to manipulate basic human instinct to gain control of your systems. Companies also have to consider insider threats in their information security plans. If employees are not informed on cybersecurity best practices, they could actually introduce unnecessary risk. Aside from all that, cybersecurity professionals who are trained to assess and manage risk are vital to helping to make information security plans successful. So I like to use this quote from Lockheed Martin. This is from Larry Guidell in his presentation at Gartner on thought leadership, building competency and leadership in cybersecurity teams. These quotes actually help to highlight the fact that technology alone is not enough, but rather skilled and experienced people are needed to actually drive security forward. But the cybersecurity workforce actually entails everyone, from IT staff to analysts to leaders of the organization. The goal is to create, over time, thought leaders in your organization who have the experience to be able to drive innovation, shape and influence outcomes, and be able to provide expertise and mentoring internally and externally to your organization. Effective organizations help to create and empower cyber teams that bring together all of those individuals, the IT staff, analysts, and leaders, together to work on problems. And in addition, because cyber is a performance and experience-based profession, we feel organizations need to seek to create a career path that progresses and evolves from gaining hands-on cyber skills, from the moment they become an IT staff and as they evolve into problem solvers as analysts, and ultimately to leaders who can embody the corporate mission while empowering the workforce for continuous growth. It's equally important to note that effective cyber teams are often multidisciplinary and encompass all of these roles working together. We see the success of this firsthand in all of the operation centers that we are involved with, where multidisciplinary agile teams perform amazingly well in fast-moving, dynamic, and often stressful situations. So the third enabler is process. Even with the right people and technology, an information security plan may be unsuccessful without a well-planned and properly executed and measurable process. Equally important is that these processes need to remain fluid, and they need to be able to adapt to the rapid change that we see happening in cyberspace. So let's take a little closer look at what adaptable processes mean and why they're important. So if you look at conventional network defense tools, such as intrusion detection systems and antiviruses, they tend to focus on vulnerability components of risk. And traditional incident response methodologies actually presuppose that there's going to be a successful intrusion. However, with the evolution in the goals and sophistication of the adversaries and their approaches that they're using, these are ineffective, right? There's a new class of threats that are appropriately known as advanced persistent threat. These represent a well-resourced and trained adversary that conducts multi-year campaigns, intrusion campaigns. And they're often targeting your highly sensitive economic, proprietary, or national security information. So these adversaries accomplish their goals using advanced tools and techniques designed to defeat your conventional network defenses. As a result, there needs to be focus on a process that enables what's commonly referred to as a cyber kill chain to help narrow that gap between when a compromise happens and the time your organization detects that compromise. Lockheed Martin, of course, is the organization that has coined and framed the cyber kill chain as a process, and it's been very effective. It's effectively modeling our traditional intelligence and analytical capabilities and applying them to the cyber domain. And so now organizations are embracing this as a way to defend their critical assets and networks. With this model, network defense techniques, which leverage knowledge about adversaries, can create an intelligence feedback loop. This enables defenders to establish a state of information, which will help ultimately allows them to decrease the likelihood of an adversary's success. So using a kill chain model such as this to describe your phases of intrusion, map the adversary kill chain indicators to defenders' courses of action, and help to identify patterns, all come together as a broader campaign to help an organization in what's called, implement a process which is called intelligence-driven computer network defense. The approaches like this helped, as I mentioned earlier, to reduce the likelihood of an adversary's success, but they also help to inform network defense investment and resource prioritization, which is very important. Now, building on the success of Lockheed Martin's kill chain, there's another new and emerging model. This one actually is coming out of MITRE's research, and it's known as Adversarial Tactics, Techniques, and Common Knowledge, or ATTACK. This is a framework for describing the actions an adversary may take while operating within your network. And that's key here. If you go back to that video when they established the honeypot, you provided an environment for the attackers to actually thrive and live inside that honeypot. This model takes that further and allows you to exploit that. So ATTACK incorporates information on cyber adversaries gathered through research as well as from other disciplines such as penetration testing and red teaming. So while they're there within your network, you can actually red team them and gain more information about their behavior. So the 9 tactic categories for ATTACK are actually, as I mentioned, derived from the later stages of the kill chain, so control, maintain, and execute. But they evolve that to a deeper level of granularity so that you can look at the intrusion after the adversary has gained access. So moving to technology. Technology, as we know, is very important. In fact, it's vital for running a company and an organization in many cases. Antiviruses, anti-malware, and other protection software certainly help to mitigate risk of unwanted access, but businesses also use technology to get feedback, or can use technology to gain the feedback of the effectiveness of their cybersecurity systems and their practices. More importantly, technology effectively needs to enable the business process directly. So that means continuous improvement. Organizations need to establish a framework for continuously monitoring their performance and evolving that. The technology that is certainly used also has to be physically secure itself. And then finally, analytics and reporting are very important. Signature and role-based tools that you often see today are no longer effective in today's environment. So instead, information security functions may wish to consider using behavior-based analytics so that you can establish an environmental baseline of your system to understand the norms and then quickly identify when something isn't normal. However, as we know, even with people, process, and technology in place, it often is still not enough. Attacks are going to happen, and when it does, it takes organizations typically a long time to detect them, if at all. In fact, the quoted median is 146 days for determining that recognizing you actually were attacked. So clearly, there remain gaps in how organizations leverage these enablers that we're addressing. To illustrate this further, let's examine some of the recent cases. You just have to look at Target, Sony Pictures, the Office of Personnel Management, and of course, Ashley Madison. And look at the timelines that are listed here for the time from which the attack occurred to the actual discovery of that attack. It's amazing. So now let's take a little bit, what did we learn from these attacks? Let's take a closer look, right? There's a fundamental gap here, and to illustrate this gap, I like to quote Corey Nachreimer, who's the CTO of WatchGuard Technologies, in his published research on visibility, the missing layer in information security. The fundamental gap pertains to effective enterprise-level situational awareness. You know, and we actually noted this earlier in as a core part of your cyber strategy that you want to place within your organization. These recent breaches certainly highlight this, and some of the lessons that we can learn from this I'll get into next. So what did we learn, or what can we learn? Well, for one, the time to take to discover the attacks solidifies the need for better visibility, so there needs to be a better set of detection capabilities. Tools can certainly provide alerts, but we've seen that those tools often today provide operators with too many alerts. Operators quickly get information overload, and so really the moving forward, you want your technology to actually be smart and to be able to weed out those false alarms. And then ultimately your users need to listen and have confidence in that data that they're seeing and act on it. Segmenting your networks is another area that's important. Much like you do when you separate concerns with information sharing, you want to do something similar with your business operations and your supporting networks. Your tools need to be advanced in order to help address that persistent threat that I mentioned earlier, and to help with the rapidly changing environment that we see with our adversaries. Finally, your tools need to support every part of that kill chain and attack model that I just referred to. So visibility tools can be used to monitor and gain critical and timely insights about your network in real time. So that really effectively is the bottom line here, is effective enterprise-level cyber operations requires good situational awareness. And what that means is understanding your network, understanding your mission and your crown jewels, so doing that analysis to determine what's the most important part of your business, and then finally understanding more knowledge and about your threats and your adversaries and their behaviors. So at this point, we've looked at a number of components, and it starts at the top with strong leadership, putting a culture in place, and then addressing your people, process, and technologies. But how can organizations get there? How can you sustain that workforce? We'll now take a few moments and just highlight a few key steps that we've taken, which we feel are good lessons. So one, it's important to realize that there are a lot of stakeholders that are part of this problem and the solution. And it's important to get us all working together. And to do that, we want to identify some common objectives, some common goals, and work towards those. The bottom line is that by working together, we have the ability to build a stronger cyber professional workforce. So let's look at this a little bit closer. Educators, for example, what can they do? Well, you can shape curricula around a common language, as well as understanding the latest advances in cybersecurity. Your students can then be able to graduate with knowledge and skills that are valuable to employers. They can be better prepared for their careers. They can seek and obtain certifications that will make them more valuable. Employers will be better able to define the skills they actually need and then recruit from a larger talent pool. Employees will have better defined career paths that they can follow to grow in this performance-based profession. And then finally, policymakers can actually set the standards to promote workforce professionalization. All of this takes a comprehensive approach to building a cyber pipeline. So this starts right away with building the right partnerships to work together on sharing common goals, information, strategy, threat information, and solutions. Engaging in an active STEM outreach to help advise, influence academia, and provide opportunities for industry and academia to work on common goals. This helps to identify a trusted pipeline. Provide employees with incentives and clear career path opportunities and tailored training. I mentioned this earlier, but it's important to employ performance-based assessment and hands-on practice. And finally, providing internships and early career opportunities will help to start this whole process early. We also recommend formalizing this as a talent pipeline, much like what Joe presented earlier in our presentation and what we talked about at length last year. This can help to not only identify top talent, but it will also help to keep that talent on track toward becoming a cyber professional. I mentioned this several times, but performance-based assessment is a good measure for strengthening your cyber core. Cyber competitions, games, practice ranges, exercises are all examples of this. And they provide an excellent vehicle for gaining hands-on practice in skill areas, as well as for organizations to leverage these events as either as part of hiring, for example, or as part of staff continued growth and assessment. So as a very simple case study, let's examine the MITRE Cyber Challenge. For the past 5 years, in partnership with IEC Squared, MITRE has been hosting a STEM-based Capture the Flag competition, and just ironically, we just found out recently that this competition was listed as one of the top 7 in the U.S. By CyberFed, which is an independent organization chartered to assess and rank cyber competitions. So we're actually very pleased to be amongst that company there. But the RCTF aims to promote interest specifically in cybersecurity, drawing that top talent to potential internships, not just at MITRE, but within our government and industry partner space as well. With this particular competition, there's separate divisions for high school and college students, and that allows these students to learn, practice, and compete amongst their peers in a number of cybersecurity topics. And these events typically last 24 hours, and they're organized very similar to a game of Jeopardy, if you've ever seen Jeopardy. You know, teams basically compete for various points. They pick their categories. Each of the challenges are increasing in complexity, so they're worth more points, et cetera. And at the end, the team with the highest points will win. So this competition typically brings in over 100 teams worldwide, representing over 300 students. And we've actually seen very promising results. Participation continues to grow, and we've actually transitioned a good number of qualified students into full-time jobs as a result. So the bottom line is that culture, people, process, technology are key enablers here. And they can really, when brought together, can help to build that cyber professional workforce. And it does take a number of key steps, as we talked about. So we talked about building the cyber talent pipeline, providing continuous experience-based learning paths, providing and establishing effective cyber processes and strategy, and leveraging advanced tools to provide effective situational awareness. So the question is, are you prepared? We know Dr. Kalios is, but are you prepared? So hopefully today's speakers will help to continue on this theme, and hopefully you take and glean from this some data and information and lessons that you can take back to your organizations. But this concludes our presentation. Thank you.